Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. This is Heidi Foy with Bullfrog Creatives. Super excited about this week's College Rodeo 101. As many of you know, we've been doing alumni profiles, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been talking to a lot of, I guess, cowboys and cowgirls that are younger. And as you know, the NIRA and college rodeo in general has just been around for a pretty long time. And so I'm really excited to welcome my guest today, Mr. Cody Lambert. I feel like I'm getting to talk to like icons in the rodeo industry. So it is an honor to have you here today. And hopefully I don't mess this up so bad that you never want to speak to me again.
I'll
Well,
probably, I'll probably make you sound pretty good. Make myself.
oh, good. I need all the help I can get. I need all the help I can get. So for those of you guys that are watching live, please feel free to post any questions that you might have, and we can get those on here. Let me turn my phone down to make sure I don't miss anybody's questions. So many things. So I mentioned before we came on air, all the things like I had to look up to make sure I didn't miss anything. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll go kind of in chronological order here, Cody. In college, you went to college at Sul Ross, which we have had the current coach on, who is CJ Aragon. We've had him on. You have him to thank, actually. He's the one that gave me your phone number, so you can call him after we get done and give him a piece of your mind. But you actually were on the Sul Ross rodeo team when they won back-to-back national titles. Is that correct?
Yes, in 82 and 83.
And not only that, so I think a lot of people this day current would know you more as just a bull rider, but it was a surprise to me. CJ was telling me you also were a saddle bronc rider and you also did a little bit of steer wrestling. Is that right?
Well, yeah, that I went to the college finals in every event except the calf roping. But I actually, when I was at Sul Ross in 1981, I qualified for the NFR in the saddle bronc riding while I was in school at Sul Ross, and then we won the national championship my last 2 years there. And so I kind of, in my day, college rodeo was the most desirable college rodeo contestant was the all around type guys, and we tried everything.
That's funny. I think, I think that you're still right. In fact, that like the all around is still kind of the most prestigious title you can win. But I feel like there's a lot more, I don't know, guys are a little bit more particular and they just kind of narrow down and pick one or two. I mean, there's always like the two in that both work in both ends of the arena. But it seems like it's a little more rare now than what it used to be.
Yeah, it seems like that. And people specialize more, and they were saying that back in the early '80s that they specialized more than they did in Harley May's day, and that sort of thing. But I always looked up to those guys that could do multiple events, and I tried them all when I was young. I tried them all, and my best two were saddle bronc riding and bull riding, and that's what I went with at the pro level. But I won money in the PRCA steer wrestling, heading and heeling too. So I've competed at my worst event was bareback riding, and I didn't really get into calf roping until I was 50 years old, and now that's my main event. You know, I still practice all the time, even though I don't go anywhere.
Well, the practicing is the fun part, I'd say. Yeah. I would love to be able to just go out in the arena and rope every now and then. So I'm really interested. Obviously, I've never on purpose rode a horse that bucks, but I've always felt like saddle bronc riding seemed the most natural over bareback riding. I feel like bareback riding beats the heck out of you. So I I can't imagine getting on a bareback horse, but a saddle bronc horse seems a little bit more natural. And bull riding, although my 5-year-old is dead set, he is going to ride bulls and be a steer wrestler, and I'm going to work really hard to get him to pick up a rope instead of a bull rope, just because it scares this mama half to death. What made you, I guess, when you first started, what made you go that route, the rough stock and kind of more the timed event route?
Like I said earlier, we kind of tried them all, and those were the ones I was best at, and it just seemed like those were the funnest ones for me, and that's what I woke up thinking about, and so those are the ones that I put the most effort into, and the funny thing was like the steer wrestling, for instance, I thought I was pretty good at it, and I won a little bit at the college rodeos and stuff, and want to go around at the college finals, and went in, came back in the short round in the lead, and blew it. But anyway, I thought I was pretty good at it, and then here 30 something years later, a lot of steer wrestlers stay here at my place during the winter, and they practice, and I get to watch them practice, and I get that, and the really highest level steer wrestlers stay here, and I get to watch them practice and hear them talking about it, and that's when I realized I didn't know anything about it, and the reason I won was because the guys that were there let me ride the best horse, and I drew the best steer and got lucky, and that's pretty much how.
Sometimes that's all it takes, I guess.
That's well. I didn't know what I didn't know. That's why my confidence was so high at that time.
Well, that's funny. I wouldn't tell everybody that, because then they're going to question themselves too. So let's talk a little bit. One thing that I mentioned when we were off camera that has kind of always been part of the sport of rodeo for me is a lot of the rough stock riders are wearing protective vests. And for me personally, I know, I think you said in 1992, 93 is when those protective vests really kind of came to fruition. But it wasn't always like that. So talk to me about kind of your experience before that, and then where the idea of that vest came from. I mean, clearly there was an injury or something that had to have come from that.
Well, one of my traveling partners in the mid to late 80s was Lane Frost, and people talk about and always equate that to it, but really my mother's the one that thought about it. My younger brother's a jockey, and they had started making them wear the jockeys wear protective gears on different tracks, and it was kind of done state by state, and she was telling me that she wanted me to get something like that, and she hounded me about it for about a year, and finally she contacted the company that made them for the jockeys, and they contacted me, and so I told them I would design something and go with their technology, and I'd fix it where I thought it was functional for a rough stock rider, and we went on at it for all through 92 and 93, and about the Pendleton of 93 was that's September, so that's the first time I've got a picture wearing that vest, and then at the NFR that year I was the only one that had one, and I got it where I couldn't tell I had it on. It didn't take anything away from the ability to ride, and so I was wearing it, and my thought process was always this is how I fed my family, and this is how I make a living. So if I can try to ride without bruised ribs or broken ribs, then I'll ride a little better. So that was as far as I was thinking on it. And then about the 7th round at the NFR bull, David Bailey's. Right when I got off of him, he was turning away from my hand. I stepped off and he turned back and hit me, and he hit me pretty hard, and he got me down, and it felt like somebody slapped me in the chest. It really worked, and I got up and I walked out, and when I got to the locker room, Ted Noose was standing at the door and Cody Custer, and they said, "Hey, get me one of those. Get me one of those things." And so in '94, I think 13 out of the 15 bull riders at the NFR had them, and about half. That was the '94 is the first year we had the PBR finals, and about half of them had them. And then since then, it looks strange if you see somebody riding without one.
Without one, yeah, for sure. So I imagine, I mean, cowboys are kind of it's a little bit hard. I mean, I would imagine that being the first one to wear them, I mean, one, now you can look back and easily think that you were a trailblazer, and you put your life and the quality of your life and being able to protect yourself kind of in front of everything. But I imagine it was pretty hard to be the first person to be wearing this. I mean, cowboys by nature, like, y'all just give each other a hard time anyways. And so did you face a lot of scrutiny from some of the other contestants, or were they respected you enough to kind of know better?
I'd been around for a few years.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. If anyone said anything negative about it, I didn't hear them.
Yeah.
So, and it took off pretty fast.
I mean, it's kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a no-brainer, really. What a great way to protect yourself. And
you can protect yourself, but bull riding and rough stock riding in general is so dangerous that I didn't want to. I didn't ever want to confuse people into thinking that you won't die if you wear this thing, because you can't. It's that dangerous. And so my thought on it was, if I wanted to ride every bull I got on, I wanted to make the whistle every time I could. And if I didn't have to try to ride with broken ribs, I was more likely to get the whistle.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned the PBR finals in Vegas that year. Talk to me about, I know there was a group of bull riders that kind of started the organization, but I mean, I guess, what was the original plan behind the PBR? And then did you ever expect for it to take off the way that it did?
Well, from day one in April 15th, 1992, we were in a motel room at Scottsdale, Arizona, where we had a meeting because there was some people that bull riding was starting to take off, and there was the bull riders only and stuff, but the contestants didn't have, we didn't want total control of we didn't want to run the business so much. We were bull riders, but we knew our careers were very short, and we wanted the best opportunities we could get. And we wanted it to be marketed and recognized as a real sport. We didn't want it to be marketed and recognized as something other than a real sport. And so we had a group of bull riders that were pretty, I like to think they were really good. And everybody was close about it. And we talked, and we thought, well, we can get this group together and form a company that we own, and we will set the rules and the guidelines, and we can if they'll go by sensible rules and have a sensible purse and market it as a real sport, we will guarantee that all of the best guys will be there. And that's because we have a group of those guys that were committed to that. And so we delivered that to people that wanted to work with us. And then we offered it to the top 30 bull riders in the world at that time. And I think there were 21 or 22 that bought in, and we bought in for $1,000 a piece. And we started the company on that. And then it wasn't very long after that Bud Light came along and Wrangler. Those were our first two sponsors. And there was a man that came and said he would put us on television and pay us to be on television. And historically, rodeo had always had to buy the time to be on television. And we didn't have any money to buy the time, so there's no possible way we're ever going to buy the time. And he saw an opportunity there, a business opportunity for his company. He did the Mesquite Rodeo, and he did some country music shows and some gardening shows on the Nashville network. And so he started putting us on there. It wasn't long before we were the #1 show on the Nashville network. And it took a few years, but we saw some opportunities to back up a little bit. After 2 years, we hired Randy Bernard, and Randy Bernard taught us everything we knew about business. And he was a young guy that had gone to Cal Poly on a rodeo scholarship, but he only went 2 years. And while he was at Cal Poly, he started a limousine company, and he started a hunting club, and he was making way too much money to stay in college. So he did that. And then he started running the California Mid-State Fair in Paso Robles. And then that's where we hired him from. And Randy took it from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty great story, Cody. I mean, just to provide y'all, to go from just providing you something where you could win a good amount, you can compete a good amount and really make a living, to what the PBR has kind of become. Really, I would say that it put not rodeo really, but really put bull riding in the spotlight in so many communities that perhaps it never would have been in had it not been for you guys.
And we start our year at Madison Square Garden for the last 2 years, and we go to we go from Madison Square Garden to the Staples Center in LA, Chicago, places like that, and AT&T Stadium in Arlington. We've done all kinds of big events. We've been in the Georgia Dome and Reliant in Houston. We've been in some big football arenas as well as a lot of NBA arenas. But this year's been really weird, and we've had to go wherever we're allowed to go. We've kept the tour going, and we've kept the television going, and our #1 bull rider, Jose Vitor Lemi, is on track to win $2 million in 1 year right now.
Holy buckets.
The world champion, PBR world champion, gets $1 million bonus, but Jose's won about 515,000 so far, and we've still got 4 or 5 events before the finals, and the finals pays another 3 or 4. The last time he won the finals, he won like 460,000 there. So he could easily go over $2 million. Not easily, but he could go over $2 million in 1 year, and that's pretty big deal. And he's 24 years old. Jess Lockwood has won over 3 million, and he's 22 years old. JB Mooney is getting up there. He's 32 years old. He's an old timer, and he's won $7.5 million riding in the PBR.
So talking about this, I mean, those kind of numbers are just unreal as far as as far as a purse. I mean, that had to have been like one of the #1 reasons for even creating the PBR, is to give y'all an opportunity to win a big amount of money. Did you ever think that it would be that much money?
Well, we knew no, we didn't. But we could see after we hired Randy,
Yeah.
that I tell people that he taught us how to reach for the stars. We always wanted to point it in an upward direction, but he took it to places that we didn't think we could go, and he taught us business along the way. He taught us how to conduct business where you can be proud of it, and that business doesn't have to be dirty, and you don't have to make enemies all the way through it. Sometimes you can't make a deal with somebody, but that doesn't mean that they won't come back later if you don't burn those bridges. And Randy did a great job, and then he went on to bigger things, and he went on to and that was huge. But Randy's done all right for himself. He when he left, he ran the Indianapolis 500 and IndyCar racing, and now he is Garth Brooks' manager. So he's done all right.
Clearly, he's doing something right with business. So let's do a little bit of thinking back here. What would you say is the biggest change that you have seen in your lifetime and in your rodeo career? What would you say is the biggest change that you've seen in rodeo? Maybe not just rodeo, but I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about it, but in maybe bull riding or in timed events in particular.
Well, there's everything's gotten better. Every one of them have gotten better in lots of ways. I'm nostalgic about the old days, and I miss some things and stuff like that. But the competition's gotten better, and the stock is so good that it's all the way around. From the timed event horses to the bucking horses to the bulls. The bulls I think the bulls started getting a lot better, and the breeding programs really took off after the PBR. And I think there had always been some bucking horse programs, but in the last 20 years, they've just gotten so much better. And I watch these rodeos on TV, and the bucking horses are just incredible and huge. They're so big. When I was rodeoing, I tell people that I could walk behind the chutes and tell the saddle broncs from the barebacks when I walk by. And now the barebacks are just as big, and they buck so hard, and those guys ride them so good. It's crazy how good they are. And you could say it about certain guys in any event, but those top bareback riders right now, they've got it down.
Yeah. And I would say too, I mean, I know it's more about kind of keeping your total body in shape so that you can go longer. I mean, there's a lot of guys, Logan Corbett, Kelly Timmerman, that have established kind of this side gig of like how to not only to be mentally tough, but physically tough as well. And I think there's a lot more of that focus rather than just getting on and hanging on and doing well. Like there's a lot more mental stuff to it, and physically, staying physically fit.
And the bareback rider, in my day, there were some great bareback riders, but they were the majority of them were the first ones to the beer stand as soon as it was over. By the time the bronc riding rolled around, I couldn't find one of them to help me pull my saddle, because I'd have to go down to the beer tent to get one of them and that's not necessarily the case anymore.
Oh, that's funny. My dad always used to say that it was the steer wrestlers holding down the beer tent.
Hey, the steer wrestlers, I love those guys. Those are my favorite. The steer wrestlers, I got friends in all of them.
Yeah.
But the steer wrestlers and the bronc riders are my favorite guys, and they're the kind of a close-knit group that it's real. It's real. They're a real band of brothers.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you think back kind of on on your life, I guess, on your rodeo career and kind of all the things that you've had opportunity to be a part of. What is the, let's talk about rodeo in particular. What is your favorite ride and or rodeo that you used to attend?
Well, my favorite rodeo was Houston because it was the biggest one and it paid the most, and I did well there a few times, and when I needed it,
Yeah.
I won a couple pickups there, and the third time I won the all around at Houston, it was a $25,000 cash bonus, and I'd won something like 17,000 in the rodeo. So I got out of there with $42,000, and that's 1992. And I never won that much at the NFR. So,
Jeez.
so other, the NFR of course would have been my favorite rodeo, but uh,
Yeah.
other than NFR, it was Houston because it was the biggest one. And my favorite ride, it changes all the time when I'm thinking back on one and if I see a bronc that felt like a bronc that I got on
Yeah.
a long time ago, or try to imagine what that one felt like and compare it to my favorite ride. The first year I went to Fort Worth, I had a bull 777 of Harry Bold's. He was 2 times buck and bull of the year. He's a reigning bull of the year. And I just turned 19 and I got him rode, and that kind of started my good year there for. Yeah, I actually made the NFR in the bronc riding that year, but I was still in college, and that one just got it rolling, and it gave me a lot of confidence on what
Yeah.
I could do next.
Wow, that's great. Um, let's see. I guess let's talk about the NFR this year. I know, you already mentioned COVID and kind of the impact that it's had on the PBR and where y'all have been able to go with your shows. What's your opinion about the NFR and about them kind of relocating it? Well, it's closer to you anyway.
Well, it's closer, and I love the NFR in Las Vegas. I was one of the guys that got to go in Oklahoma City before it went to
Yeah.
Las Vegas, and in Las Vegas. So that I love them all, but I'm really glad that it's coming to Arlington. I think that's a really cool venue. I've seen I've seen what the arena is going to look like, and I'm imagining that. And I always go back to the bucking horses, and they're going to buck in there like they're in one of those big outdoor arenas. So,
Yeah,
the
it's
guys
definitely
they're
going to
going to
change
go back
that.
they're going to go back to Las Vegas next year, and it's great in Vegas, and there'll be more money and all of that. But the horses are going to buck better in Arlington, in my opinion.
So I know I've heard several different viewpoints on this. Do you feel like, I guess, interested in what your viewpoint is, but Vegas has really the casinos and the businesses there in that community have really kind of made the NFR what it is, the payout and all that kind of stuff. Do you think it's do you think it's doing Vegas a disservice to moving it this year and then bringing it back? Or do you think that everyone kind of was in agreement that this is going to be what's best for the NFR?
Well, you got to think about the contestants, and they needed it. They needed NFR, and it's not hurting Vegas for it to roll on and finish this year out. And I think the people in Las Vegas have been really good about all of it, and really helpful to them. I don't know. I've just seen what I see on TV, I've obviously got some good friends that are going to be riding there, and I'm thinking, it's a good thing for rodeo, and it's a good thing for the NFR and the NFR contestants. But Vegas is hurting. They haven't had anything going on, and that's a tough deal. It's a tough year, and it's a weird year, and I'll be glad when things are a little more back to what we call normal.
Yeah, for sure. So just real quick, I'm not going to lie to you. I have not been to a PBR event. I have an opportunity. We've got 2 weekends of PBR coming up here in Casper, and I'm super excited to announce that we've got 4 tickets to give away. The event center here has reached out to provide us with 4 tickets, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know how. I have to make it hard. I got to have them answer a question or something. Maybe I'll see who watched our video here and I'll ask them a question about that. But I'm super excited to be able to go, although also really nervous. I'm not going to lie. I don't really want my son to go because he's going to think it's amazing. And I just don't think I can handle that. I'm with your mom. She was smart when she was bossing you around about that flak jacket.
Well, my son, it was fun when he was little and he rode sheep or calves or little steers. But when they started getting a little bigger, he was into other sports, and I made sure that those other sports were available because my biggest fear was that he would want to be a bull rider, and I was a little worried about that.
Hey, I'm really glad to hear that because I've got people making me feel bad because I don't want him to do it. So if you also don't want your son to do it, then I think I'm okay.
And now my grandson is in that boat, and my son's having to make sure that
there's other things available.
Yeah.
Yep, I get it.
Like the other sports.
It's too tough. So listen, Cody, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your time, and CJ was wrong. I did not have to pry words out of you. It was great. I appreciate everything. I know I kind of tracked you, like I hunted you down pretty much. And I know that this probably wasn't on your schedule, but I definitely appreciate it. We have a small following, but I know that people appreciate kind of hearing from legends in the sport of rodeo and icons that that so many of us have looked up to. And I think you're definitely one of those cowboys for us.
Well, thank you for saying nice things about me.
You're welcome.
Obviously didn't know me very well.
I was gonna say I'll give you my mailing address and you can send that gift card my way.
Yeah.
Nah, it's perfect. I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for what you've done for the sport of rodeo. I mean, even I'm not a bull rider, but I think anything that, like you said, about marketing bull riding as a sport and nothing less than that, it only helps the whole sport, not just your event, but everything. And I feel like that's something that has been on my list since I was in high school. It's not just a sport. Oftentimes it's a way of life for many of us. And so I think you represent us well, Cody.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate you saying that. And that was the plan all along, was to expose our sport to as many people as possible. And a lot of people think the bull riding's cool. They might check out the other events.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. So real quick, I'll do a quick wrap up. Thank you guys for tuning in. We've had a pretty good crew joining us live. If you are rewatching this, we appreciate you tuning in. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and tag them put them in the comments, and I totally know how to get a hold of Cody now, although he may not like that. So if we have any questions that pop up, I will be able to get an answer for those, or I don't know, maybe I can answer them. I want to put a shout out to Cinch Jeans for helping me bring the alumni back on, and every week kind of highlighting and talking about what college rodeo has done and where these contestants are now and where these student athletes have gone to. So I appreciate their time. I appreciate their sponsorship, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Next week, we will have another special guest, have a few people that I'm trying to get nailed down, and we will be back. I will catch y'all next week on College Rodeo 101.